doing a tier list for 10.7, which is based on the Karin patch, right? That is what this tier list is going to be. These tier lists, I'm not sitting down breaking every single god's placement down. I do videos after where I cover like SS tier and S together, and I get into detail on the gods, and then I'll do like A plus and A tier together and get into more detail. So if you're looking for a super detail, you don't get it. It's because it's coming later, and that's just how I've been doing it. It makes more sense. It's a lot of gods now. We're what are we at, 120 something gods in Smite? It's over the top, and realistically most gods don't go through any changes, right? Or the changes they do go through are super minor. The meta and what's good in the game, builds, items, you know, the nerfs and stuff they've been doing, stuff is what's affecting more than just the gods alone. So a lot of the answers to why gods are good is kind of the same answer a lot of the time, and that's why we do it like this. So Achilles, I think Achilles is really good, A plus tier. I like him in the solo lane. I think his team fight is super strong. Agni, I think Agni is still probably the best mid that is not super difficult to play. So that is why he's S tier for ranked. That's at all brackets. He should be so easy to just press Alt 1, Alt 2, they're dead. Like, it's so easy to combo off of Agni, it's a joke. Plus Agni is very good into a lot of the gods that are picked all the time. AMC is trash. AMC is literal dog trash. There's no reason to play AMC. He doesn't do anything better than anyone else except for die. That's what he does better than other people. Puash, I like Puash. I don't think he's that good. I don't like in terms of, you know, compared to some other gods. He's a solid, it is a very good god. His mobility is lacking, and that's why he's not higher. Amma, I thought Amma would be coming back into, you know, the meta a little bit in the solo lane, but she really hasn't. I don't think she's a terrible god, and I've had her in games where she does fine. It's her laning phase isn't great. Her team fight is solid. Her objective play is you know, fantastic. Who is AMC? I'm losing Cat. We got to get you caught up. Honor's seen a boom in play. I think Honor is very, very strong right now because of his passive, and on top of his aggressive, just fighting playstyle for ranked does really well. And his rotations to that mid beacon are super strong. That's where he's at for me. Anubis, A tier, because you can't get away with consistently playing him against anyone who has a brain, because they're going to build anti-heal, they're going to dive you, you're going to have a bad time. Ao Kuang, broken. My bans for ranked, like personally, when I'm in a ranked game, the ones I don't want to deal with are Set, Ao Kuang, and occasionally, depending on how good or bad my solo laners are, Wukong. So, Ao Kuang, Wukong, Set. The other two are not broken. They're just super easy to play. Ao Kuang is very, very, very strong, broken, while also being extremely easy to play, because even if you're bad and your team is doing anything at all, you can execute people. You can do the bare minimum without any skill. Aphrodite, huge fall off from Aphrodite. I don't think you should be playing Aphrodite in any role. If you do play it, I'd be okay with you playing in support, but I don't think she's good whatsoever after the nerfs and with the changes to the items and everything that have gone through in the past couple of patches. Apollo, he's super average as an ADC. He's not bad, but his global ult isn't as relevant as everyone would have hoped. His defensive playstyle, like his mez is not bad, but in team fights, his mez isn't that good. His mez is way better for avoiding ganks than anything. Once you get into team fights and the super hardcore grouping and diving, it's hard to play Apollo and get away with it consistently. Arachne, I want to check. I have the old tier list pulled up. I had Arachne in B tier. That's what I thought. So Arachne's moving up from B tier. I don't think you're trolling when you play her. I think Arachne's issue is that her early game isn't as good as it used to be because you can't set up spiders to get an advantage. But she's moving up because Silver Branch has been buffed and AA gods are just kind of cranking. You know, it's super easy to just run at people, and Arachne does it well. She does it well up into the diamond brackets, and even in diamond brackets, you can get away with it. Not as good at the high levels, but your bronze, silver, gold, you should be farming people with that god. Very, very, very straightforward with the playstyle. Ares, I think Ares is good, but easily counterable. So you pick it too early in a draft, you're getting hard countered, or you're not going to get to play the game. Anyone who can interrupt your chains, interrupt your three, you're not going to clear in the lane, you're going to get out pressure, you're going to lose. But if you're able to last pick Ares into counter picks, he's very, very strong. I wouldn't put him down here into only a counter pick position. It's more of when you draft him. Early drafts can go poorly for the god. Artemis. All right, I wanted to look something up because a lot of people don't seem to understand this. There are two websites. I think only one is updating now. Let me double check. One is updating now. So there are websites that track win rates. And really a lot of people don't pay attention to them, and I think they don't think they exist. So Artemis used to always be at the tippity top of this win rate all the time. When I say all the time, I mean literally Artemis is on this first page when she was the worst she ever was. We've gone through Artemis buffs, which cause people to play her more. And because she's getting played more and you're getting an accurate amount of games played, now you're seeing where Artemis really is. Below is Nanami on the 4th page. Not really cranking a lot. Now, not to say as an ADC, she doesn't have a higher win rate. You can look up the role. She's still up there in the top 4. No one's competing with Martigras. She's still up there, but she used to hold that number 1 spot because nobody played her. So when I've placed her before, people get mad. Like, well, I win on Artemis. I do this on Artemis. Artemis is really good at W King. So if you're bad at ADC and you're just going to run at people and hold left click, Artemis is a god to play. But if you have a brain, functioning and telling you what to do, Artemis is not that good. I'm going to leave her in A. She's borderline B for me, but for ranked, I'll leave her at A. RDO, I think, is underperforming. I don't think she wins any lanes or does anything good in teamfights right now. Athena, we just watched the number 1 Athena play the game. Did a little breakdown, kind of explained some stuff. Another situation where it's a very easy to play support that's also solid. Good god, has a performance, does everything you need in teamfights while also being easy to play. Atlas, I'm going to put Atlas down to A tier. He's nowhere near as annoying right now. I don't know if it's the fact that a lot of the gods that are being played are immune to the pools or can cancel out the pools and stop the pools, or if it's just that all these other gods are better. And when Charon gets into the meta, it's going to be like in a ranked meta, it's going to be rough for some of these other guardians to get played. They're just not going to be as common. You're going to see everyone fighting over Charon probably, just for at least the fun of it, because he's way more fun than other guardians. Wheelix is solid as a... really, even as just like a pick. You don't have to always counter pick with her. She could just be played. She can have rough matchups. The biggest thing is trying to control pressure when you play her, and that's kind of why I'm going to leave her in A. There's a lot of gods outside of the jungle that will control the the pressure of the match that she can't inflict that pressure on anymore because they've fucked with her and messed with her so much. Baba Yaga, A+. I don't think Baba's a priority pick for anybody, but I do think Baba is one of the top 5 mages probably for the mid lane. Bacchus, I don't know where this came from or why this is happening, but Bacchus is kind of just slapping up matches right now all the time, just absolutely clapping ranked games. I really like Bacchus. I think it's because aggro ADCs are slightly back, like Honor is back in the meta. Honor Bacchus lane is fun as shit. You can fight 24/7. What up, Tweezle? Thank you for the sub. By the way, Santa Stalker, thank you for the tier 368 months. And Don, thank you for the prime sub. But yeah, Bacchus, just great performance in lane with aggressive, fighty ADCs. Bakasura, I think, is still a priority pick. Really easy to farm, get the late game, and he slaps everybody, shreds tanks, shreds squishies, really just kind of controls the game and does his thing. Baron, I'd put in A tier, more of a support than anything. Don't hate it. Don't think it's great. Don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Just think it's kind of, if you're gonna make it work, you're gonna play the god right. That's fine. Bastet. I think Bastet is the best jungler in Smite that doesn't get banned. For me, my top junglers are Kali, Thor, and then Bastet. I'd put Ao Kuang up there too, but I'd rather have Bastet for the overall control of the match, where Ao Kuang could have a slightly weaker early game or have some matchups that don't go perfectly. Bastet right now does well into every god that is picked, and she is super strong. She just got buffed for no reason. Her scaling is 100% on every one of her abilities. The damage, despite the nerfs to items, so we lost some power from items, she's still just pumping out more than everybody else. It feels good to play her all the time. Very good. Bellona. I think Bellona's bad. I'd probably put Bellona down in here to C tier. I don't think she's good in the lane. Especially with Guardians being played, she's even worse. I don't know how she's worse. She's bad already before Guardians were being meta. Now that you have Guardians being meta, like if you play Bellona and they pick Sobek, you don't get to play the game in the lane. You don't get to do anything. You don't bully anybody. You don't play the match. So I do not like Bellona. She's not good in team fights. She's always falling off late. No Bellona. Kabrakan, I throw into A tier. I saw, I think, the rank 2 Kabrakan the other day get kind of washed when we were watching one of the, I think I was doing coaching. And we watched him kind of get worked. Kabrakan's just not doing it right now. He's not one-shotting with the mage builds. He's not performing in the solo lane better than anyone else. He's just kind of chilling, doing his thing. Camazot's lacking CC, so he's going to go A tier. I'm borderline B tier on Camazot. So I don't see what, like, Camazot's a snowball god. You don't snowball, you do horrible. Serb, A tier, extremely average. Cern is still a really good hunter despite the nerfs. Chalk down here in B tier. I don't know why you're playing it. I don't think it's complete dog shit because you can farm idiots, but it is not good or worth playing. Chunga, A tier, good in the mid lane. Karon, this Karon, right? Realistically, if Karon was in ranked right now, he'd be probably A+. I think he's really good and extremely annoying and fun to play. So I'm like almost S tier, but I don't think he's a true priority pick as is. He felt very like slightly above balanced when we were playing. Like he felt balanced, but he was good, and you would play him over a lot of Guardians because he was a little bit better. So I'd probably throw him into A+. That's where I'm at. Charybdis, A tier. Nothing really. The lane isn't, you know, the way laning's going isn't making her better. Items aren't making her better. She hasn't been buffed or anything in a relevant way in a while. She's chilling in A tier. Chernobog, same boat. Not doing anything crazy. Chiron, same boat. Ability Hunter's underperforming except for one of them. Shocker. Chronos. I think Chronos is very good in mid and in jungle. I don't think I've lost a jungle game on Chronos since last year, since the beginning of last year. So a year and a half, basically. The ability build on Chronos is nuts. That's why I don't want to, like, I wouldn't say play him in ADC. You're not going to have a good time in ADC. If you can get away with it in mid because you're a matchup, that's fine. It's a little bit harder to do, but in the jungle, it feels very, very good. Cleo, I think, is still a little bit better than just like your standard A tier. The damage is nuts. The lacking CC is why she's not any higher, and almost borderline A tier. Cthulhu, I think he's trash. I don't think Cthulhu is good. He just dies to mages and hunters late game. He literally just stands there and dies. Cucullin, I think Cucullin is really good. Has good matchup into Yorm, which is one of the most popular solo laners, if not the best solo laner, and just has solid matchups into a lot of the other gods that are in the game. Cupid, underperforming right now, doesn't counter gods, doesn't do enough damage, and doesn't excel with the items. Dodgy, I think this is going to be the first time I'm putting Dodgy below A. If you were a Dodgy man, you're like, well, I think she's A, I'd be fine with you saying that. I think she's only good when it's a hard counter pick to their team. I don't think you're picking Dodgy unless you have 2 or 3 gods that you hard counter. She's got something going on right now where her auto attack canceling is messed up, the same way Ul's stance swapping is messed up. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the patches. I don't even know if Hi-Rez knows about it, but she feels like shit to play. Fenrir, I'm putting Fenrir in A tier. Someone asked me, is Fenrir in S tier? In low games, maybe bronze into gold at max, you're, sure, you might be able to just run at people because they don't know how to react and they're idiots. Maybe not idiots, but they're ignorant to the way you're supposed to, handle a Fenrir jumping on you. But once you play them higher than that, if it's not a really solid team comp surrounding you, you're gonna, I won't say you're not gonna struggle. Like, I don't think you're gonna struggle every game, but it's not gonna be consistently high level games out of a Fenrir. At least if people know what they're doing. Danza, I think I've only played against Danza like 2 or 3 times. I believe Danza is better than Artemis and slightly above A, so I'm gonna put him in A+. I think he kind of competes with On Her if it's somebody playing Danza in the way that Danza is supposed to be played. Disco, been playing really well. Realistically, I would recommend you play Disco unless you're comfortable with her and you're queuing with somebody else who you can, take advantage of your passive if you're not popping off. But I'm not putting her in A anymore. Her CC is nuts and her ult is insanely valuable. Erlang Shen. I don't know. Erlang's weird. He started getting played again at a high level, like an SPL level, because they buffed him and made him a little bit tankier off of his ult and a couple other things. So he's more of an initiator bot. So I'm going to leave him at A tier for ranked. ESET, A tier for ranked, mainly as a mid laner, slightly as a support. Fafnir, A tier, just doing the same stuff. Freya is performing. She's doing a little bit right now. I like her in the ADC role. Best thing you can do is not die in the first 5 levels and then get your first 2 items online and you're good to go. You'll run the rest of the match. Ganesh, I think, is a solid support. Silence and ult are his silence and ult are probably the 2 most annoying Guardian abilities right now, where Atlas's pull was really annoying for a while and good Yamoja's players were kind of annoying for a while. I think Ganesh is up there for me as like the most annoying Guardian. Geb, I think, is performing just fine. I'm going to throw him in A tier though. Gilgamesh, I think, is trash. Maybe not AMC below a tier, because you could build him at whatever hybrid or damage and play him in the jungle and you can get away with it, but it is very, very inconsistent. Guan Yu, average. Hachiman, still solid, saw some nerfs, so he's not super OP. Hades, average. Hebo, underperforming a little bit, but I'm going to put him in A+. I think it's because people think he's broken and played into whatever. You kind of want to be able to feel out your picks. You don't want to early pick him and get countered by a Fenrir. But outside of that, as long as you're not getting hard countered, it's not something that directly just farms you. The god does well all the way through the mid and late game. Even the early game right now out of the jungle is really strong. Heimdall, very, very strong right now. Biggest question I get asked, why is Heimdall good? His 3 makes it so you never get ganked. On top of that, we're out of a crit meta. So being out of a crit meta, Heimdall excels in AA metas. Kind of his thing. I just really like having a Heimdall on my team too. Self peel, all that stuff. I think Heim is great. Hell, average as a support. Wouldn't play it anywhere else. Hera, average as a mid. Really wouldn't put a lot of time into her, but I don't think she's bad if you play her. Hercules is back to being A tier. That motherfucker was running this game for the last 6 months, and now he doesn't get touched at all. Horus, probably the best support in the game for aggressive and team fighting. I think there's a better support for aggressive and solo play as a support and trying to carry your game. So once we get to there, we'll talk about it. Ho Yi's playing a little bit better than he was, but still not great because his laning phase is bad because he can't clear. Han Bats, I think, is extremely average. Rogue swears he's OP. I swear he's an alt bot. Junglers, there's so many better junglers. Just he's okay. He is an alt bot. Better junglers. Ishtar, super overrated now. I don't know why anyone plays Ishtar if they know what's going on. Ishtar was broken with crit. Now, without crit, she doesn't really do any of what she was doing before. She's not trash, but she's not one-shotting people. She's not hyper OP when you're in her face. She's annoying. She's definitely worse than some of the other hunters and maybe slightly better than others. E-Shell, I really want to put E-Shell higher. I think, where did I put E-Shell before? I had to put her up high. Did I put her in A+? Am I blind? Am I blind? Am I blind? Am I blind? I don't see her. Where'd I put her? Oh, there she is. I did put her in S. She's not S tier. She's not S tier because of difficulty positioning. She has the highest requirement for positioning knowledge out of every mage ever, I feel like. And your average mage player just sits in the back and throws abilities and hopes they hit. E-Shell, you have to be in their face with your team, positioning around your team while you're positioning around them, avoiding damage, using your 2 for heal, peel, all that stuff. She is super strong in the right hands, but very difficult to play for lower level players. So I'm going to move her down to A+. I still like playing her. I still think she's good, and I don't think she's bad when she's on my team as long as the person knows what they're doing. Izanami, I'm putting the Izanami up in A+. For ranked. For the reason of laning phase. Every game I play, if the ADC loses pressure, they die a lot. Whether it's to the 1v1, the 2v2, not positioning correctly on ganks. Izanami guarantees you lane clear faster than the other person unless they have an insanely high aggressive hunter and support on their team. But Izanami is almost always going to be able to compete with that. So I'm putting Izanami to A+. Janice. I think Janice is nuts. Not as difficult to play as E-Shell, but a little bit more difficult than your average mage. Most people suck at Janice because they're afraid to be aggressive and they're afraid to just throw their ults out for the sake of throwing the ult out. Good Janice players use their ult to do things and try them and see how they work, test their limits, and don't stop doing that. They consistently are doing that stuff throughout games as they play. Your bad Janice players sit there and press 2 and then think they're going to hit their ult late game and one-shot somebody. Janice is definitely in the top tier of mages, but there's a little bit more difficulty there to play, especially over an Agni. So I'd rather somebody who isn't a Janice main play Agni, but someone who is a Janice main, I'd rather them play Janice. Jingwei, I think Jingwei's trash. I don't think she's literal poop, but crit meta is out and she's not doing anything. Yorm, probably your best solo laner in the game. He's starting to have matchups come up that he maybe not struggles in, but have better matchups against him, like Cullen. You're seeing other Guardians come out that are performing against him, but I still think he's by far the best Guardian for the solo lane. I still think he's probably the best solo laner in the game because he's super easy to play while also just doing everything. Knockups, the annoying ults coming out of the solo lane, which used to be a problem, but for some reason it's just performing better, probably because people are dying a little bit slower. So Yorm's going to stay in SS tier. Kali is our best jungler in the game, period. Auto attack builds are back, so like ADCs are back to building AA pen. That's a Kali meta. And Kali's doing it up. Kali also has built-in pen into her kit. Her passive gives you 20% pen on your target when she's level 20. So killing tanks or killing anybody is a joke. You are still building pen on the god, but you shred everybody. And was Kali's win rate like number 1 that I just pulled up? It's not number. Wait. I have hunters. Yeah. Kali on the win rate for ranked is number 1 by a lot. Now, this is a little sketchy number. Like I talked about earlier with Artemis. Some of these gods you can't fully say like, oh, they're the best, because the win rates we're talking like small fractions of percentages difference, but it's also gods that necessarily are being played at different levels. and by different people, or not played a lot by, you know, the majority and just played by a small portion of the community. So these stats aren't always right, but this is crazy. Almost a 60% win rate on Kali. This is crazy. A 74% pick man rate. Ridiculous. Like, this god's win rate is just ridiculous. So Kali is probably the best god in the game, just in general, whether we're looking at that win rate or not. With the win rate, she's definitely the best god in the game. Khepri, I'm going to throw into A tier. He's okay. He's doing his thing, but it's nothing crazy. King Arthur, I think he's doing a little bit better than he was before, but I think I'd still put him in A tier, especially against a lot of these Guardians. Kukulkan is probably the most underrated mage in Smite at this moment. Problem is, where we have gods like Janus that have to use their abilities correctly, and then we have gods like Echel have to position correctly, Kukulkan has to play mechanically better than everyone else and mechanically more consistent than everyone else in the match, because you can't afford to sit there and miss abilities over and over and over again. I also just realized I never full screen this. So Kukulkan for me, I'm putting him in A because I'm realistic. I'm being a realist here. But Kukulkan with somebody who's hitting their one into a poly auto over and over again and is using their 3, you know, at the right time. They're not just spamming it, and their ults are coming out at the correct times, is pretty fucking just it's nuts. It's creating crazy opportunity. Most mages can do their thing. They throw out their one ability. It hurts. A couple of them have bigger ults, but they usually get Aegis. Kukulkan stuff is not getting Aegis that often. Kukulkan isn't even feared, so people are going to be super open to just eating your abilities like idiots. I don't think Kukulkan's boring either. He's boring if you don't know what you're doing. Kukulkan is one of the best clears in the game for just rotating. You can walk up with your 2 full speed, throw your 3 down, and then leave, and it's going to get cleared. Your wave is going to die to your 3, and you can go wherever you want. You become like a second jungler. Obviously, you need wards. You need position correctly in terms of pathing around the map. You don't want to be too aggressive when you don't know where they are. I think Kukulkan's underrated, but I'm going to leave him in A because, like I said, I'm a realist. Kumba A tier. I think Kumba's bad. Actually, that's a lie. Kumba B tier. He doesn't do anything. He's slightly annoying, but he doesn't actually do anything for his teammates. Kuzimbo is S tier. Kuzimbo support. Borderline broken. Not quite what Horus is doing. It's a different aspect where you're just extremely annoying. Kuzimbo solo, you can I'm not going to say one shot people, but you're not going to die before, you know, you're going to kill a hunter before a hunter kills you or a mage kills you in pretty much all the way up until hyper late game. The builds that are coming out with your E-staffs and the fact that Kuzimbo can reflect damage is nuts. I reflected 1,300 damage off of a Kuzimbo the other day. I was playing Poseidon. He was diving under the tier 2. I turned around and I was full HP. Turned around and threw my Kraken behind me. He popped Thorns. He popped his 2. It did 1,309 damage. And I got pretty much one shot off of it. Kuzimbo's nuts. Period. Done. Lance. I don't know why people are trying to hype up Lance. When we were talking about it before, I posted a video where we did an Elo Hell and someone played Lancelot. I said Lancelot's the worst assassin, one of the worst assassins in Smite. He is. He's probably the worst assassin because he's actually a warrior. It's an assassin title on a warrior kit, and people don't want to admit it. Go hybrid if you're going to play him, and realistically, I just wouldn't play him. I'm putting him in B tier. Loki. I think Loki's okay right now. I don't think he's bad. Don't think he's good. Marticarus. So while Kali is the top god in the game, Marticarus is the most OP god in the game. You're not going to convince me otherwise. He's got an ultimate that lasts 3 seconds that shreds protections and does over 1,000 damage. Not even late game, like rank 3, it does like 1,000 damage. That alone is the best ability in Smite. For me, it's by far the best ability in Smite. Then you pair that with the fact that him being the only ability hunter in the game that is good, and it's so good that it's top pick and must have, and his 2-1 combo pretty much one-shots you. He's got a root. He's got a slow that lasts forever. He excels insanely well with ability builds when nobody else does, which just goes to show the build's not even good. It's just the god. And then the ultimate. So we're putting him in S tier. He is the most OP god in the game. Kali's probably the best god in the game. Maui, extremely average these days after the nerfs. Medusa, I don't know why. She's not going A tier. She's down here. There's no reason to play Medusa. Her dash is her biggest problem, on top of the fact that her ultimate just doesn't work the way it should. They should change Medusa ult. They should bring in the cone so it's a little more directional. Change the length a little bit and make it so if you're running away, the stun is half a second. If you're facing her, the stun is the full duration. They should get away from this slow shit. They can keep the slow on it, but it shouldn't just be a slow. Her dash is so bad that it clips things on her side. So it's not a safety thing. She has to be overly aggressive, and no matter where being overly aggressive as a hunter just isn't the move. She doesn't work with an AA build. She doesn't work with an ability build. Mercury. I hate this. I'm putting Mercury in a B tier because your condition on being able to play Mercury is whether they go spectral or not. If you can guarantee they don't go spectral, Mercury's still great and OP, but everyone's building spectral. So I'm putting him in a B tier because of that, which is sad. I love Mercury. He's super fun. Merlin, I'm putting in probably A+. He's still got really good clear, but his clear doesn't guarantee like a control in mid lane anymore like it used to because everyone's getting to lane a little bit slower than before. But I still like Merlin. It's just he's not as safe, which makes him harder to play in team fights. Morgan Le Fay, I'd probably put in A tier, A+ too. A little bit more risky because of her lack of movement, but she's super strong when you're able to be aggressive on her. Mulan, I throw in A tier, just falls off in the late game still. Naja with a hybrid build, I put in A+. Any other build, I'd probably put in A. Neath, I'm going to put Neath down here in the B tier. Ability Hunter's just not doing it up. Nemesis, I think, is very good because you can kill tanks easy. Nike with a high win rate, but I don't think Nike's that great. I'll put her into A+, not just because of the win rate. I've had her played in a couple of games, and she does do her thing. But if you pick it into a bad matchup where your one's getting interrupted, you don't get to play the game. We can crying right now a little bit. Mercury not being good is sad. Nox. I like Nox support. I'm putting Nox into A+ as a support and a support only. If you are able to create plays, if you are a Nox player that knows what you're doing, if you're a support that goes around and starts stuff when you're supposed to, you're in the right positions, you're still frontlining, great pick. If you can't do those things I just listed, don't play Nox. Nuwa, trash. Not going into A tier. She's going down to the C tier. I think she's trash. I don't know why you would ever play her. Odin, I'm going to put Odin in this B tier. You're only playing him to counterpick very specific things. Olorun's slightly underperforming, but his ult is still his ult. So I'm going to put him in A tier. Osiris, I'm going to put Osiris into B tier. I think he's underperforming everywhere. I don't know why you would play him. Pele, A+ tier. It's an all-in god that overkills. So she's good, and she's pretty good at killing one person as long as they don't use actives properly. But once that happens, it's more of a struggle into the team fights. I do like that play style for lower tier, diamond and underplay. It gets you wins. So I'm going to put Pele in A+. Persephone is trash. I don't know why you would play her. Putting her in a C tier. Poseidon performing pretty good. I like him more in the jungle than in mid, but both can be played. Raw, I'm putting Raw in A+. For me, Raw is great if you're positioning perfect the whole game. God tier. Raws are insane. Most people don't do that, so I'd probably put him into A for your average player. Put him into A+ here, and Stallone said S. I could see an S argument if it's somebody who is perfect on their movement and their positioning on this god. Raijin got his buffs, but he's still average. Rama performing really well with this AA meta because Silver Branch OP, and he has a stim. Rat, I think Rat's pretty solid as a jungler, okay as a soul laner, more as a jungle, and I think he works well. I don't think he's better than, say, Pele or Naja, but I do think Rat's better than your Fenrir, your Hunbats, your Arachne, so that's why Rat's going to fall into this A+ tier. Ravana's still broken. He's banned every game. They buffed his passive, and they nerfed his passive, and then people are like, oh shit, he's still broken. Guess what? I've been saying that for how long? I've been saying play Ravana if you're a new player. Play Ravana if you're looking for an easy-to-play ability god because he's unstoppable. Now people are getting it. SS tier. Scylla. I said Ugolian's probably the most underrated mage in terms of just overall mages, but Scylla just gets like no credit at all. I think she's very, very good. With Conduit, she clears as well as any mage. If you aren't going Conduit, she's trash. Stallone's praying for S tier Scylla. I don't think Scylla's S tier just because it is so much more difficult right now to get ult resets than you used to because of the damage that was lost from items and because of the way tank items are working right now. That's the only issue I have with her, is her ult isn't doing like 90% of people's health as early as it used to. So I'm going to put her in A+. S tier can be argued. Her clear is nuts. Her, like you said, her objective secure is top tier. Her objective steal, top tier. My biggest problem is the way the ult's performing. I can feel it. When I play Scylla, the 1-2 autos with Poly still feel god tier like they used to, but I can feel that ult difference from the power that we've lost. Serket, still one of the better junglers in the game. If you're consistently landing double taunts, she's top tier. If you're not, she's okay. And if you don't know how to combo her, then don't play her. So I'm going to put her in A+. Set, I'm going to throw into S tier because he can be played with Sigil mid. He can be played jungle with full damage or hybrid builds. He farms noobs, and he can also be played solo in ADC because of Sigil. If you haven't seen the Sigil plays, pretty much just allows him to dive onto people early and kill squishy targets that he shouldn't be able to dive because of the extra tankiness. Really hard to kill because of his 3 paired with Sigil. He's hyper tanky early, and it's very, very frustrating. It allows you to get you full use out of your ult comboed with your 3, with everything else. I hate it. I don't like Set. I don't play Set. I think he's extremely boring. I ban him every game because of how simple he is for these people to play and just hold W key, but he's good. Shiva. I wouldn't ban Shiva, but Shiva is the best support to play to carry your games. I would never ban Shiva. He's not unbeatable. He's not a guaranteed carry, but he's so simple to play, do high amounts of damage as a support full tank. He can also play solo, and he's probably one of the best warrior solos right now. Next to, I mean, really, Kukulkan's kind of up there, but Shiva's got the combo of solo and support, so that's why I'm putting Shiva in the S tier. I just think Shiva is overly simple, and I hate it. A lot of these gods that I'm throwing in the higher tiers have an ability or something that makes them really good, or it's because they're simple. Ravana, simple. Set, simple. People get overly complicated too. People are like, no, Set's not easy to play. He's fucking easy to play as shit. Sit there and read the abilities for 5 seconds, and you'll realize how simple this god is. You press alt, you press 3, and you spam 2 until you want to kill somebody. When you want to kill them, you press 1. That's it. That's literally it. You run around holding left click, spamming 2. It's the easiest shit in the world. Shiva outdoes all these gods in terms of simplicity. You press 1-2. You press 1-2. You press 2-1. You press 1-2. That's it. That's his whole kit. Everything else is extra and movement and bullshit. You press 1-2. It's ridiculous. I hate it. If you couldn't tell. Scotty going down here in a B tier. I don't think Scotty's complete shit, but she's not good, and you really don't. This is borderline on like a bad argument too, because I don't think it's even filling a role or anything, but I do think you could pick it and you're not trolling and you can have a good game. Sobek performing really well right now. I'm borderline between A+ and S tier. He's being played in the solo and in support, and he's doing really well because of how tanky he is and because of the items that are being played in that meta. E-staffs and glad shields and stone of bindings are just kind of pumping for Sobek. Soul in ranked, better than it should be. Split push potential is extremely high, and her damage against these people that just don't understand what she does is crazy. They just sit there and eat it and eat it and eat it, and she gets kills when she shouldn't, and it's ridiculous, and it's good at all levels. It can be played at all levels. Sun Wukong, I don't know why people are overhyping Sun Wukong once again. He's good. Being played in the solo, he's good. Somebody, I don't know who it was the other day, was trying to argue with me that he's SS tier, that he's broken. We're back to hybrid Wukong, by the way. You're not going full damage Wukong in the soul lane anymore. You'll get shit on in lane, it'll be a bad time. Back to hybrid Wukong. He is very annoying. He can kind of make the life of an ADC or a mage frustrating with the W key, but they can kill him. Mages can turn on him so easy. It doesn't matter that he has a reset on his ult. Mages and hunters are pumping damage on the hybrid gods. If you aren't a full tank, mages and hunters are going to kill you, and they're going to kill you like it's nothing. Someone should say Janice sucks. Bro, how poo-poo you got to be to think Janice sucks? What bracket you playing in? Iron, wood, sand? Where are you at? Surtur. I think Surtur is complete and utter trash. Do not play Surtur. I had a crit AA solo Surtur the other day. You know what happened? Nothing. He was trash. He did nothing but get farmed. Susano, S tier. Probably the best ability, like pure ability jungler, outside of, you could say Ao Kuang's ability, but it's a mage. Ravana's ability, but it's more of just how defensive the character is. Susano's like your raw ability damage jungler. Thor and him are kind of on the same level for me in S tier. Sylvanas, good lane pressure, weak team fight. Not a big fan of him, but I don't think he's complete trash. Terra, I'd throw into A+ tier just because she can be really good with setup. Thanatos, I'd throw into A+ tier. I love the execute. His damage is really high. He's one of the few assassins that still consistently one-shots despite the power loss. And it's because he has that extra pen on his 2. I think he's performing better than he probably should be. The Morrigan has fallen off a bit. I'm going to throw her into A tier. Actually, probably B tier. It's more of if you're a Morgan main that you play her. Thor, SS tier. A lot of junglers up here in SS tier right now. These are all the gods that 100% get banned or get picked in the top 2 picks. Little bit better than Susano. For me, Kali and Thor are like the tippity top junglers. I said I would throw Bastet right after them, which I would. I'd throw Ao Kwang up there, and then I'd throw Ravana up there. Ravana's put up there because of how simple he is to play. Not because he's going to hard carry every game. He's just very, very good, very, very defensive, and very simple. Thoth, A+ tier for me. I like Thoth in games. He gets dove easy, so if you're not positioning well, you will get punished, but he does a lot of damage. Tiamat, A+ tier. Still frustrating, good lane control. Tsukiyomi, complete dog shit. I'm doing this on purpose and like gonna go out of my way to explain this. Tsukiyomi does nothing. Tsukiyomi only does something to teams or players that are so low level MMR that they can't process how a team plays a team game. He does nothing. His ultimate doesn't do any damage. It's completely irrelevant, and it's completely countered by Aegis. His one is cool. It's great. I can throw it for poke. If you're in range to throw the one for poke, you're in range to insta-die from anyone who knows how to react to a Tsukiyomi being out of position. His best ability is his 3. His 2 is virtually useless because it gets interrupted 99% of the time. His 3 is probably his best ability, and it's because of the duration that it lasts on the ground, but everyone can walk around it. That you don't control how strong that is. You control it if it's an annoying position, but you don't control the damage coming out of that as Tsukiyomi. I think Tsukiyomi is complete trash. I don't even want them to buff him. I want them to rework him. I want him to be fully reworked. Tier, falling down a little bit. Still performing well in the solo lane, but no longer the #1 solo, really, at all. Oh, terrible. Terrible. Ul's out here in B tier. I saw someone trying to come up with an AA build on Twitter, and I tried it, and it was trash. Ability build Ul is dog shit right now. It gets outperformed by every single ability or AA hunter there is in the game. Vamana, huge fall off after they nerfed his ult. I'm going to put him down here in B tier. I say B tier because maybe you could play him into like some wall comp if you're trying to be able to walk through a bunch of walls. But outside of that, I wouldn't really play Vamana. Vulcan, I like Vulcan. People forget his 1 is now not crippled. His 1 is an ability that doesn't have anything to do with being crippled. So you can 1 out of Poseidon Whirlpools. You can 1 out of a lot of things that are just very, very, very frustrating. And his damage is super high. His output is nuts right now. So I'm putting Vulcan at A+ here. His big downside is positioning, and his position has to be into land his closer range abilities. Shivalake, I don't know why Shivalake gets played. This is a mystery for me. Every time I have a shit ADC on my team, they're playing Shivalake. So I don't know if someone's telling them this, or at some point someone saw something and was like, Shivalake's back. He doesn't work extremely well with any of the ADC builds because he wants to build Transcendence, and Transcendence is not an ADC build item anymore. And even in ability builds, like if you were going to try to run ability build Shivalake, ability hunters are trash. So for me, Shivalake is going down here to B. I'm borderline want to put him in a C tier, but since he has an ult to get up his teammates and he does have a movement ability, I will, allow a B tier argument. Xing 10, I think, is annoying, but no better than Sylvanas or anyone else. Yamoja played perfectly, super strong. Ymir is trash. Somebody just a few minutes ago said, Ymir in my games in jungle or solo is fun as shit. Ymir sucks. Ymir is complete dog ass. Worthless after the 20-minute mark. And even before that, barely useful. Yu Wong, still super strong as a mage because of his safety. Zeus, hard to play because he's easily dove. And Zhong Kui, I've been saying this for a while. Tank meta. Everyone thought Zhong Kui's back. Zhong Kui sucks. B tier. I wouldn't play a lot of Zhong Kui if you're trying to win. I wouldn't touch Zhong Kui in the solo lane if you're actually trying to win a game. You just get worked by most people. Some people have argued it's good in the Yorm. It's not. Zhong Kui sucks. And this is my old tier list. We did it. Raijin is too high? No. Raijin has the damage output. His problem is how simple it is to get onto him and kind of ruin his day, but for a lot of warriors and assassins. Persephone doesn't slap. No. Persephone's trash. There's no even playing Persephone, right? They simplified Persephone, so she's a joke. She's just trash. Gog's not S tier. Kronos in what lane? Jungle mid. I don't go crit anymore on Baka. I'll update it to a full AA build if it hasn't been updated yet. How do you counter Bastet? Jumping on Bastet before she drops her kit onto you is like the biggest thing you can do, but it's also cripples and hard CC as soon as she lands off of leaps and everything is how you play around her. Ao Kwang is not the best jungle. It's just alphabetical. Kali is the best jungle in the game. Martikers is probably the best. I'd rather ban a Martikers than a Kali because I deal with Kali, but Martikers is fucking nuts. Ao Kwang is up there. A lot of junglers are. I mean, if you watch ranked at a high level, it's junglers banned for like eight or 9 out of the 10 bans.